Shalom, family. Everyone doing all right? All right, good, good, good. Okay, so we're going to be getting into Mother's Day, okay? The history and origin of Mother's Day. Because so many people celebrate it, but many people may be unfamiliar with where it stems from, okay? And of course, with many things, if you gain that understanding, it may cause you to reevaluate if this is something you truly want to continue to do or be associated with. So we don't want to be ignorant. A big part of being ignorant is ignoring, the information, not only just being unaware of it. Okay, we don't want to be in either case. We don't want to be unaware, nor do you just want to ignore it. So, lesson of judges to make sure you have a good understanding of the origin and history concerning and surrounding Mother's Day. So, let's get into the history of Mother's Day. Origin of Mother's Day. This is the AI overview. Okay, at a glance, so the synopsis. Mother's Day's modern celebration traces back to the efforts of Anna Jarvis in the earliest 20th century. In the early 20th century, initially conceived as a way to honor her mother. Anna Reeves Jarvis, the holiday evolved into a national observance. So Anna Jarvis' campaign led to the establishment of a National Mother's Day, which was officially recognized in 1914. Okay, you see a picture of the founder of Mother's Day, modern founder, Anna Jarvis, circa 1900s. So that's from Britannica.com. So, what is Mother's Day? So, this from History.com, the article on Mother's Day. Celebrations of Mother's Day and motherhood can be traced back to the ancient Greeks and Romans, who held festivals in honor of the mother goddesses Rhea and Cybele. But the clearest modern precedent for Mother's Day is the early Christian festival known as Mothering Sunday. So this is again what you're going to see. A lot of it is going to stem back from the Greeks and Romans, okay? And understandably, because where does the ideology of America, Europe, stem from? It stems from their forefathers and foremothers, the Greeks and the Romans. So a lot of the things they take, from their ancient culture and apply in modern day, So a lot of it is going to stem from that because that's where they come from. This is part of their, culture and their history. So it's going to have, traces of those things there. So as many other holiday celebrations, you'll find out, stem from the ancient Greeks and Romans. So, so let me go further than that. So now, it says, once a major tradition in the United Kingdom and parts of Europe, this celebration fell on the fourth Sunday in Lent and was originally seen as a time when the faithful would return to their, quote, mother church, end quote, the main church in the vicinity of their home for a special service. Over time, the Mothering Sunday tradition shifted into a more secular holiday, and children would present their mothers with flowers and other tokens of appreciation. This custom eventually faded in popularity before merging with the American Mother's Day in the 1930s and 1940s. Now, quick fact, more phone calls are made on Mother's Day than any other day of the year. These holiday chats with mom often cause phone traffic to spike by as much as 37%. Okay, so a lot to take in there, a lot that you can account for and that we want to cover. And of course, we'll do it in parts, but one of the main things we'll deal with, and especially we deal with, Anna Reeves Jarvis, that Mother's Day became something very much so commercialized. So it lost root of even what she intended, for it to be. But you have to understand that the Most High God, there's a reason why. Why do you think when you read the scriptures, you don't find a Mother's Day? Why is that? You ever thought about that? You ever questioned that? Why don't you just find, okay, Mother's Day right there and there. We get a day. Can we get a day for everything we done? The blood, sweat, toil, all the pain we deal with, strong, independent women, whatever, however, floats your boat, however you want to say it. The reason why God did not put that in there is because God gave you every day of the year to be honored. That's what God gave you. Man tried to find a day to try to make you special, give you a day. Well, no, Most High God gave you every day to avoid things like this. This is what happens when man tries to reinvent the wheel from what God originally intended. Now you got people fighting, to make sure if any day don't go, I make sure Mother's Day I call that day. Well, no, there should be a concerning effort in general to communicate more with your mother, just in general. So because you understand that, with the spirit, there's no way you can pay her back for all the work that she's put in. There's a lot to, cover, in that regard. Let me go ahead and let's get Exodus 20 and 12. This is what the Most High built in. This is why it says this. Let's read the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12, the Ten Commandments. It says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Lord thy God giveth thee. The Most High God did not make a particular day for that to be applied to. That's something that's to be applied every day of every year. That honor and respect. Just like his other laws and commandments. Like we read after that. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Those things isn't just, all right, today's no steal day. Today's no adultery day. Yeah. Yeah, because, people start thinking like that. Today's the day we do not murder. No. It's supposed to be every day. Every day is supposed to be special in that regard for those things. If it was something that was to be treated in a different fashion, the Most High God would have specified. I mean, shoot, even the Sabbath, he said, hey, that's to be kept every week. So, but other things, he gave it to where, no, the honor given, because that's what mother is supposed to be, right? Something to honor your mother. Most High God said, no, you taking away from the program. Stop trying to reinvent what it is I set out. No, that's supposed to be done every day. Every day that honor should be there. So that's why I created. Don't water it down. Because now you get people, they feel they can treat the other days how they want or ignore them, and then put all their efforts into this one day. No. It should be something on a constant. Whenever you're in the place to do so, I can do something for my mother. And always trying to be that support, for her, because all the year, the trial she put in and try to, take and better me. And of course, given, even if you have your own family, you even realize that many of our people, we dealt community minded, to where, man, all the more if you can have your mother be with you, and to help with the raising of the children that you have, like there's a lot of, and you'll find in other cultures, even earlier days, we would do that. We would have it to where, they were there so they weren't forgotten. Nowadays, mom on the other side of town, you on the other side of town. So it's easier to be, forgotten. Or mom just in the old folks' home. But we had a culture to where a lot of times parents were there. They were there with it. You read the script, a lot of times they were there. So, because it allowed a situation where there was still help being provided. There's a reason why, even like the mother, the grandmother, that's still that even as a grandparent, that you're still a parent. Even as a grandmother, you're still a mother that to be an aid and a help, and we've lost sight of that. So to where the newer generations, they're not having that multi-generational education, especially nowadays. All the more it could be helped when you have to go to work. Man, grandmother can be there to help, be an aid to you and the children, and it's something that all the parties benefit because, okay, with my 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 mother being here with me, and me, working, I'm able to help provide for many of the things that she needs because she's covered within the greater aspect of the home, where she doesn't have to worry about paying, mortgage or rent. That takes off a man. That's majority of people's income in this day and age. That's a big help. And more than likely, she's in play where it's okay. She retired, and prior to retirement, that pays for a lot of things that she needs, but a lot of things should be covered under the house, and with those things, a mutual benefit because now she's also in a space where she's benefiting, in many of the financial regard, but we also have a benefit with having her here to help, so we don't have to go out and pay for a babysitter. That money comes right back into the home, and it's not a problem because, hey, we have to help, with mom, my mom, your mom being here. Hey, that's a help, and it helps make the household more stable. Who better generally for the kids to be with, if they're gonna be with anyone than the person that raised you, generally speaking, so, but we'll get more into those things another time, but we'll continue getting to this. But these are just the things that our culture is was very much so different than what it is today. We've grown very much so detached, from those aspects of things. So just keep that in mind. Um, so now reading on, and what is Mother's Day? So once a major tradition in the United Kingdom and parts of Europe, the celebration fell on the fourth Sunday in Lent and was originally seen as a time when the faithful returned to their mother church, the main church in the vicinity of their home, for a special service. Over time, the Mothering Sunday tradition shifted into a more secular holiday, and children would present their mothers with flowers and other tokens of appreciation. This custom eventually faded in popularity before merging with American Mother's Day in 1930s and 1940s. More phone calls are made on Mother's Day than any other day of the year. These holiday chats with mom often cause phone traffic to spike by as much as 37%. That's from history.com. So now let's get into some of the pagan origins, okay? And this is Cybele, identified with Rhea, so it's also Rhea. 1617 Roman statue from circa 100 AD, near Carlsberg, Glyptotech, Copenhagen. So So the history of Mother's Day, its ancient origins. Our journey in the footsteps of Mother's Day takes us back to ancient Greece. In fact, it was none other than Rhea, the mother of Zeus, who was the first to see her role as a mother celebrated during spring ceremonies held in her honor. On the other side of the Ionian Sea, Roman matrons were celebrated in March during religious festivals called Matronalia. The fact that these early days of Mother's Day take place around spring is no coincidence, since it is quite simply the season of fertility, the one that sees nature reborn. So, and that's from Falchon.com. So now, you have a situation where, just today, like I said, there's no coincidence why Mother's Day is celebrated in the spring. And it gives honor to a lot of the goddesses that are literally goddesses of fertility and spring and motherhood, things of that nature, giving honor unto them. And this is nothing new in terms of our people celebrate. Let's get Jeremiah 7 and 18. Let's get Jeremiah 7 and 18. I think I got to come back to Jeremiah 44 as well later. Okay, let's get the book of Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 18. Look at Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 18, and it reads, "The children gather wood and the fathers kindle the fire. And the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. See, you have many people that say, "Oh, mother, they ain't. It's just to honor your mother. It ain't a problem. It's all right. God wouldn't care." No, God does care, because it's not standing for Him. It's not being done and along the realms of righteousness. That God is looking at these things and no, these are done to other gods. This has nothing to do of me or of my spirit. If you want to be a worshiper of me, you have to move as I say move, not as you want to find comfortable moving. So it's a problem with Him. And if a problem with Him, it should be a problem for you. But a lot of our people, they fall into these traps because it's how they feel towards it, or their thoughts towards it. Well, dang, that's I feel this way or thing. But you have to understand, well, who's higher than the Most High God? And that's part of how, Christ even said, if you love mother or father more than me, you're not worthy of me. Because Most High God is supposed to come first. It doesn't matter how much I may love, my wife or any of my children. They don't come before the Most High. So nothing, no one on this face of this earth come before the Most High God. Not even me. I can't even come before the Most High God. Most High God has to be number one in our lives, and that's for anyone who would choose to worship Him in spirit and in truth. Anything else is number 2 or 3, 4, 5. So, and that's something that the Most High God wants us all to accept and acknowledge, because He's the supreme authority and the supreme being. So, and if we choose to disregard that in place of something else, like, hey, well, I'm not really concerned with that, I'd rather do things this way, then you're already committing idolatry, because you're placing mother, sister, auntie, grandma above the Most High God now in that regard. And that's something you have to be aware of. So in just that fast, let's get Jeremiah 44:17, because as it says in verse 19, it says, "Do they provoke me to anger, say the Lord? Do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces?" Because at the end of the day, the Most High is going to judge you. It's like, yeah, as much you doing this I don't like, but it's only going to put you in the worst condition. Because God's in heaven, you're on earth. So He has the ability to, all right, bet. This is what you want to do. You don't care? All right, bet. I know how to get you. You want to work? Okay, I'm gonna make. Most High do that. I'm gonna make your mama a thorn in your side. I'm gonna make your daughter a thorn in your side. Or you know what? I'm gonna cause a life to be lost. So Most High, that's part of working mysterious ways. So let's get Jeremiah 44:17 through 18. Let's get the book of Jeremiah 44. So, and let's start verse, I'll start verse 15, because this is important. We're going to read 15 down to 18. This is where, even you have times where the man or the husband, they could be aware, but they take a back seat. Like I said, the woman's the one that wears the pants and relationship. She's the one driving the boat. She's the one driving the bus, driving the car. Man, he ain't even the passenger seat. He in the back seat. That's happened before with our people. This is an instance of that. Let's get Jeremiah 44:15. And it reads, "Then all the men which knew," they weren't ignorant, they knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods. And these be the gods. They keep it mothers, they Rhea and Zebuli. Hey, this is about us. We need a day. We need this. So, and all the women that stood by, look at that, all the women stood by, a great multitude. I mean, a lot of women. A lot of them. Read on. "Even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah. Now, Jeremiah is supposed to be a prophet of the Lord. One of the major prophets we say, right? But like even this day and age, even like some may watch this, like, hey, in disagreement. I can't get with that. I can't get with that. Many were in disagreement with Jeremiah when he's just a messenger. This is, hey, the word of the Lord, I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to warn you. So, but saying, 16, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us, and this is the women answering. So, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee. I said it was feeling. And guess what? Is things any different today? No. Still going to have the same thing. Those that are truly sincere, trying to follow the ways of the Most High and trying to, hey, give warning is, we don't care. Nah, not what you talking about. Not my God. My God don't get with that. So, not my Jesus. All right, well, the God of the Bible, this is what he's saying. The God of the creator of heaven and earth, this is what he's saying. Not whatever God you choosing to follow. So, let's read verse 17. It says, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouths, to burn incense unto the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, and our princes, in the city of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. That's how many of them feel. You try to tell them today, hey, sis, hey, this is, I understand you've been doing it, but this is, this ain't the way the Most High wants you to go. This ain't right. This is wicked. What you mean? I've been doing this. My mama been doing it. What you mean? I'm trying to tell you. But that be the response. That be the energy you get back. Even things, don't let it be on something they didn't post it, Why you on my page? That's my page. Say what I want on my page. Say what you want on your page, don't you? You get all that energy. This is the same spirit that they're in. The same mindset. A lot of people, I've been doing this long, nothing happened. Yeah, but you have to understand how the Most High God work. He's long suffering. He ain't like us. Something happened, we be trying to get back quick. We be trying to get our lick back and everything else. But Most High God, he don't work like that. He get you back 5 years later. So he lets some things build and accumulate. He'll wait, I'll get you with that. When, like the scripture say, he get you when you comfortable, you didn't dang near forgot about it. So let something else happen in your life. Like, Most High God, remember, he's eternal. He ain't got nothing but time. We the ones that got a ticking time clock on us. He ain't got that. So, in the Most High, he hit you with some slow deaths. Gout, hit you with cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Most High, cold piece of work. All right, keep playing. If you want to, he gonna, he can hit you a number of ways. Like I said, 1,000 ways to die. Most High, say, I got million. I got ways you ain't even seen yet. And it's worse when you have to deal with continual suffering. Certain things you think the pain is getting taken out quick. No, Most High, slow death is worse. Scriptures tell you that. Hit you with some slow killers. Hit you with some high stressors. Most High put you in a low position. All right, bet, I got you. I know what to do for you. And this is 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine. And you got some that have, they even coming into the walk, coming to truth, coming to the faith, as we say, many say, that they feel like now it's worse. Now I'm doing this. Now it's like, seem like more bad stuff happening. I was better off with doing what I was doing. But you have to understand that that's speaking foolishly, because you have to understand the scriptures. You're not called into something that's easier. You're called into something more challenging. Because in the world, you have all these vices that you have to put bandages on wounds. It's not that it's better. It's that you have all these vices you can choose to take. You can choose to fornicate. You can choose to commit adultery. You can choose to get drunk. You choose to get high to numb the pain of life. But in this walk, No, you can no longer do that. I can no longer, just because I'm upset or mad at my partner, just fornicate, commit adultery. I can't do that anymore. I can no longer choose, man, I'm depressed, that whatever it is, just get drunk. I can no longer do that. I can drink, just can't get drunk. So you're learning that there's a way that you have to be and carry so on a daily basis. And certain behavior and actions is no longer acceptable. And that's tough because you have to deal with the very problems in life, but raw and uncut. Like I said, straight no chaser. And that's difficult for a lot of people. So, and still living in a world where all these vices and things are out there, but you have to choose to refrain from them, even though they're there. That's the tough part. But that's the part that's going to make you earn your ticket into the kingdom of heaven. Heaven ain't free. People just think, no, you earn it. Through what? Through your obedience to the Most High God in choosing to apply His laws, statutes, and commandments on a daily basis in an evil and wicked world. You ain't hiding under a rock or in a cellar basement somewhere where ain't nobody around. Ain't no distractions. No, you in the midst of distractions, and you still have to choose to do the right thing. That's how you gonna find out who the real ones are and separating them, because you have to overcome. So now, let's continue. Let's learn about Julia Ward Howe. So the history of Mother's Day, from global peace to greeting cards. So Julia Ward Howe, 1819 to 1910. It's from the womenshistory.org. So Julia Ward Howe and the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Julia Ward Howe, best known as the author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, was an abolitionist, a women's rights advocate, and a peace activist. In 1870, horrified by the death and destruction she had witnessed during the Civil War and concerned by the Franco-Prussian War unfolding abroad, Howe issued what has come to be known as her Mother's Day Proclamation, originally called An Appeal to Womanhood Throughout the World. In it, Howe urged the creation of an international body of women who can find ways to avoid war and bloodshed. I earnestly ask that a General Congress of Women, without limit of nationality, may be appointed to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. When that didn't happen, I sought to establish an annual Mother's Day for peace to be celebrated in June. That did happen in a few places for a while. The version of Mother's Day celebrated today is more directly rooted in the work of Anne Jarvis and her daughter, Anna Jarvis, who established the holiday to honor her mother. Frustratingly, for the younger Jarvis, most people don't celebrate it today the way she intended. And that's from the same source, Women's History. So, understanding that you have others that even some that may have had good intentions, that may have just wanted, because you understand people, they want to do something special for their mother. So I understand the mother was a pivotal role in their life. Scripture don't say not to do that, not to do something special for your mother, but the scriptures urge, and the most are for that to be done on a regular basis, not limiting it to a day or focusing on a day, but making sure that's done continuously. And that's honoring things that are done continuously. So it's misguided, misguided in that regard. Let's get more on Anna Reeves Jarvis. Okay. Anna Reeves Jarvis, so the founder of Mother's Day. And this we've read before. So Anna Jarvis at a glance. Anna Jarvis, born May 1st, 1864, Webster, West Virginia, U.S. Died November 24th, 1948, Westchester, Pennsylvania. Was an American social activist, who are generally recognized as the founder of the legal holiday known as Mother's Day in the United States and in many other countries. The first Mother's Day church service was held in 1908, and the day was made a national holiday in 1914. Jarvis also headed the Mother's Day International Association, which she incorporated in 1912 to guide the annual observance of Mother's Day and preserve the integrity of the holiday in the face of what she considered to be commercial exploitation by businesses and ideological distortion by political and social movements. Near the end of her life, Jarvis vigorously but unsuccessfully campaigned for the legal cancellation of Mother's Day in the United States. And that's from Britannica.com. So how do you have the woman who proposed and fought for it, the main advocate against it? Because it turned into something different from what she intended for it to become. It lost sight of everything that she was truly fighting for. That it wasn't about all this commercial. No, it was truly about the honor, respect, doing so nice. But it's understanding that the problem was the root, that you went away from how the Most High ordained it should have been done. That was the root. That's why it was doomed to be set up for failure in that way. Because that's what happens when you go away from the Most High's program and try to reinvent the wheel. Everyone got a better idea. Why don't we do it instead of learning and trying to see, no, how did the Most High God establish it? What did he want, out of it? How and why did he set things up in this way? So, and let's get, and that ends PowerPoint from there. Let's get a couple of scriptures. Let's get Isaiah 5:20. So, because a lot of times people, they're not content with how God, made things, but they want to try to find another way. Because people, man, we think we got it figured out more than the Most High. Let's get Isaiah 5:20. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. It says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." You start feeling the way the Most High God set things out, or how he has things planned isn't right, and that you know better. And how you feel is more validated because it's how you feel. Where no, the Most High, no. It's a situation where this is beyond just me and you. So it's about the Most High God, and that no, I didn't make Most High God, I didn't make a day because a day would limit you. A day would limit you. I wasn't trying to limit you. I was trying to magnify you. So I was trying to set it up to where it wasn't about you for a day. It was about you, in terms of every year. So every year, every month, every week, that it was never just a non-factor. So when you center, you concentrate everything into that day, it takes away from the rest of the year. That people get lost in the sauce of just, hey, this is the day that I focus my efforts on that. So as long as I do stuff, and everyone's there, as long as I do something for that day, I did my part. And that's how you get people who, the generations who now, hey, just put mom the old folks on. Put over there, deal with her. I mean, hey, I'll go see her, make sure I see her on Mother's Day. Instead of making sure, no, I want to, try to work and the help that we can be to each other. That's the thing, the help to each other, and making sure that we can help take care of each other because we can both have a mutual benefit, and that's interdependency. Interdependency is where I understand what you bring to the table, you understand what I bring to the table, and we can come together to have a better situation. What I may lack in the ability to be present at home, be able to teach my children or make sure they're staying out of harm's way, you can fill in that void. And what you may lack to be able to currently gain financially, I can help, fill that void. And it won't take that much away from me. That's a better mindset that can be had. And you have conversations, to make sure that hey, the respect, boundary, things that nature are there, so that there aren't any offenses. You have those conversations to make sure that everyone is comfortable. On how to be able to make things work for the benefit of all. You know, and that's the way. The better way, and that's how the Most High would have urged for things to be done. Let's get Sirach 3:8, Ecclesiastes 3:8. So, because nowadays it's even been lost, to make it seem it's just because one is grown that means now I no longer, I shoot, man, now it's far now. People, I'm grown, so I'll just move out. I'm grown. I don't need my parents. I'm grown, and now I just do whatever I want, or I ain't gotta listen to my parents. All very different things. When that's not the way things were set up. The scriptures don't speak in that regard. So let's get Sirach 3:8. So let's get Sirach actually 7 and then 8. I'll read 8 and 7. Sirach chapter 3 verse 8. Honor thy father and mother, both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon thee from them. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that there's a level in that honor, is that level of respect, appreciation, given, to your parents. And you may not feel, some may feel like their parents ain't worth too much, ain't worth ish. But the reality is you weren't there, and you weren't able to comprehend much of what it is that they were doing, at least for half of your life. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, you don't know everything they dealt with and over you, and most of the stuff you just hearing stories, and half of them probably ain't even right. Them from whoever. So a lot of things you don't know. So you don't know. Like I said, not just because you weren't there, you wasn't able. What you remember? How much the struggle you remember when you was 3? Your mom doing 4 or 5, 6, 7, even 10. You seen, but how much did you really see and remember and comprehend and understand? No. You don't really start seeing and comprehending like really just around 17, 18, 19. By that time, they near grown. So you don't know truly. So you have to understand a lot of stuff. You have to take that energy and not focus on what it is your parents did or didn't do, what your mom did or didn't do, but rather you choose to be better. Choose to be better. Learn from the mistake, learn from whatever it is they didn't, and you choose to be better and do better for the sake of your children. Because the reality is, for many overall, the generations are getting worse, not better. So overall, whatever it is you probably feel about your mom, you probably worse. Real talk. Because every generation is getting worse. So more than likely, you probably need to be talking to them and learning what it is that they did and taking notes. Because overall, falling away further and further from the level of civility and how we should be, level of morality and how we should be, falling further away from that. So, it's something that you're not learning or grasping, that your mother was probably the better version of you, and you're probably the worst version. So, as much as what you may not like regarding it. Only a few can really say that they are better than what their mother probably was. You might think you know better, but the reality is that's not what we're seeing throughout the world. Because who most people being raised by, mama, right? That's who most people are being raised by. So it's more respect is probably due. And honors probably due. Even for those who feel like this, I don't like I can't get along, or she feels attitude, whatever it is, yours is probably worse. So, I mean, just looking at generations, just being honest. So, verse 7, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 7 says, He that feareth the Lord, see, not everybody feared the most. That's why I started that. He or she that fears the Most High God, that fears the Creator, will honor his father and will do service unto his parents as to his masters. So you're going to do service unto your parents, just like you would on your job. You know your job. Boss asks you to do something, they tell you to do something. There's a different level of receptiveness that you have to when your boss has to tell you to do something, right? Well, guess what? That should also be there for your parents, given it's not things that are a sin or things that are beyond your power. There should be a level of receptiveness to where, okay, yeah, I'm gonna run by the man, my mom, she kind of need this. I'm gonna, get this for her, you know. Not like, man, I don't live there no more, you know. Man, why you asking me? Trina can do it. How come you ain't ask her? You know. Hey, if your mother is asking you for help and it's within your power, shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't, you know. So especially if it's the only problem it comes if it's something that's a sin, then it's a no. I can't do that because of this. I cannot promote a wicked lifestyle for you. So that I can't do. But outside of that, yeah, you need to okay. I can help you with that. That's reasonable. That's within my power. There should be no excuse or reason if you're in the faith and your mom's in the faith and you know everything. All right, what you need, I got you. That respect and honor should be. That's how you remember everything we're going to do is to help change the culture. That's a big part of the repentance process is changing the culture, getting back to our roots, getting back to how things should be, building a community, and that community is built upon the family, and even upon the family, the big part of that nurture in the home, that nurture it comes from that mother. She's the pillar of that house. That pillar helps support that house. That's what the mother does. She plays a very vital role in the building of the household structure. And that's why everything is if you don't like the mothers of today, the women of today, that starts with what you're instilling in the daughters that you have and the daughters of tomorrow. Because they're gonna be the new mothers, and you have to teach them and that hey, it's a big responsibility because you're going to be raising and play a big part in raising the sons and daughters that will be the men and women of society. So you have to have a different outlet. Don't just have the kid just because I want to have in my possession, but no, I want to truly build a better society and a better nation through what it is that I know that I'm instilling in them so that they can be better and do better so we can be better as a people. There's a certain mindset and ideology, but not everybody, thinks that way. But for society, they're not teaching that because they feel let's get Sirach 13, Ecclesiastes chapter 13. Actually, let's get Daniel. Let's get Daniel. Let's go to Sirach. Let's get Daniel 7 and 25. Let's get Sirach. Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. Book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And it reads, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High." So this he is, in this context, representing Esau, who is Edom. So primarily the ones ruling this earth, in the flesh. So, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. So, and all these great words is everything that's being said, both verbally and documented politically, that goes against what it is the Most High laid out in the scriptures. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, the saints being the Israelites, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So wearing us out through captivity, slavery, nowadays modern day version with these jobs, long hours, so, and oppression. So wear out the saints of the Most High and think to change times and laws. So that's the part I want to focus on. So this is changing times and laws. This is also how he's doing that, changing the customs, changing the norm so that there's a new norm. So now when people think about, again, nation building, they're far removed from it, and some trying to find their way back to it. But it's so foreign. So now instead of people having a mindset of, hey, just for example, you have many, parents, hey, shoot, 18, get a job, get out. That wasn't necessarily the mindset, before, but that's the mindset now. Or even more so with kids, shoot, as soon as I can, I'm moving out. That wasn't the mindset, before. Because either way you look at it, yeah, you're getting out there, but what do you have? What do you have established? You don't have too much established. Nothing. Do you have a career? Do you have not just a job, but a career? Do you have a car that is bought and paid off? Do you have down payment for a house? So what are you leaving with? You're leaving just to repeat the same cycle that your parents. Just all you're doing is creating generational poverty. That's all you're doing under that. And then even your kid, your child, what did you instill in them to be ready for life in society? Did you even teach them how to pay a water bill? You teach them about credit, good credit, bad credit, why credit is even needed. I mean, what tool did you give them? Send them out there. I mean, just again, a whole different type of society we live in. That again, we strayed so far from our culture that there's this new norm that we think is normal and good. That other nations, they don't think like that. They don't do that. But we do. And it creates generational problems. It's why we struggle and why we're at the bottom now. So, but these are things, again, you got to start thinking differently. That the mother, you're there as the nurse. These are things that the teacher can begin to change the mindset and the culture by first changing your mindset. Choosing, to embrace truly your culture and how the Most High designed for, things to be. Let's flip back to Sirach, or Ecclesiastes, chapter 13, and let's deal with verse 3 through 6. Let's read this, and it's probably the last one. Ecclesiastes chapter 13 and verse 3. It said, "The rich man have done wrong, and yet he threateneth withal." And of course, in this day and age, the rich man is more than likely going to be Esau, Edom, so more than likely. And it says, even when he does wrong, he still has the ability to say or do what he wants because they're rich. They're in power, so they're still, you would think, and they do wrong, there should be a level of, sincerity. There should be a level of humility. There should be a level seeking of forgiveness, but a lot of time they still spewing hellfire all the more. Reading on. So the poor is wrong, then he must entreat also. But when the poor is wrong, you still have to, oh well, it just, I mean, it's all right, and you the one that got done wrong. You should be in the you should be the one who your feelings are valid in terms of nah, this ain't right. But you got to go crouching it, and hoping things are better. That's unfortunate. That's a curse. Four, but understanding, this is how things are. Four, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. That's what you're always having, and that's what you have with Mother's Day. If thou be for his profit, if he can profit from it, hey, he gonna use you. He can profit of it. Even from the same general, everything mentioned earlier is for his profit. It's for his profit, creating a cycle of generational poverty. Because guess what? Yeah, kick him out at 18. Ain't got nothing. Because guess what? They're going to be working for me. They're going to be renting from me. They ain't going to own. That only works to their benefit. Keep them in power. All you do is create a cycle. When you're not creating generational wealth, you're creating generational poverty. You keep feeding into their system, keeping them wealthy, keeping their pockets fat. Yeah, making sure your kids ain't educated. Hey, guess what? They're going to be working right there, being a janitor, working at their Wendy's, McDonald's, So I love nothing better. And then all the more affluent job, the better position are saved from their kids who they make sure are prepared. They grow up, they start them off young as not only little children, but even as toddlers. They're more focused on making sure that you're no more so prepared. Their mothers are making sure their children are on a different type of learning and not only educate on an academic level, but even on a dietary level. Their kids ain't living off of, McDonald's and stuff like that. There's a whole different mindset. So we have to begin to shift and truly take on what it means to be a mother. Truly. And embracing, that mindset in that culture. Like it says, 4, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. 5, if thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear, will not be sorry for it. So you have that. This society, remember, especially Americanized society, is built like as a corporation, a business. It's just business. President, CEO, secretary, like everything is built like a business. And they're going to make sure what's going to be best for business. So, and oftentimes short term until someone else got to deal with that next problem. So, but what's going to be best for business? And not necessarily what's going to be in your best interest, but you have to begin to, look at things that, hey, what's the old path and what's the way of the Most High and how he's going to want things done. So with that, I just want to cover, some of those things, just heart to heart, but pray you're able to get a lot of the information, concerning a lot of the origin and history of Mother's Day and just meditate on those things. And of course, definitely, do more of your research because, this is just in a nutshell. But, in the future ones, I'll deal with other topics of discussion. In some ways, I kind of included within this, just things just be mindful of because, you're dealing with not only a day, but really you're dealing with people, but you're dealing with a group, a class of people, female, but female with children. There's a lot of them, and that's what makes you a mother. But there's so much that is imperative to understand, that the scriptures give in terms of what truly does that mean. And so in future, lessons that I'll teach on this, it'll be to really go into those things deeply within the scriptures, because that's something that has to be done both on the things that, women in some regard that are mothers, that being the underdog in society in some ways, but then also on the flip side, women who are, the scripture says, as God says, the ostrich, and not doing their jobs and not playing their part and being a big part of the problem of today. Yeah, both, you know, and those things will be covered more in, future lessons, most high permit. So, with that, hope you learned and got some out of it, and I say, Shalom.